Who doesn't want high definition TV? Nobody! That's why you bought that big TV in the first place, right? But the thing is, plenty people got that big flat screen TV for Christmas or their birthday or whatever, but they didn't get an HD cable box to go with it. That means that they're watching this regular TV signal on their big HD TV, and it could look so much better. See, an HD image is 4 times the size of a regular digital TV image. To get true HD, you gotta have Rev TV HD to go along with your HD TV. So here's the deal. You can get a Rev TV HD box today for about as much as you're paying now for your regular digital box. And you'll only pay half the cost to access over 100 HD channels with Rev TV HD. You're welcome.
Your HD TV deserves true HD, so upgrade to Rev TV HD today for just $4.99 a month for a limited time from Rev TV. Rev TV HD, how we define TV.
The Bahamas tops the list of the most dangerous cruise destinations in the world. The tourism minister weighs in. A young man gunned down on Dunmore Lane. 4 men in police custody after an overnight murder in Pinewood Gardens. Millions of dollars to be borrowed to complete the critical care block, and Revon customers get a major boost. We have those stories and more coming up tonight. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Christina McNeil, and your MB12 starts right now. Joining us. A maritime lawyer from the United States has ranked the Bahamas as the most dangerous cruise destination in the world. Armed robberies, sexual assault, and murder are just 3 reasons the Bahamas has taken the top spot. Minister of Tourism Obie Wilchcombe responded to that list today, saying he doesn't necessarily believe the Bahamas deserves such a high ranking, but he recognizes crime is a problem. Dana Smith reports.
With the Bahamas #1 on One American Lawyer's most dangerous cruise destinations list, Tourism Minister Obie Wilchcombe said crime and the subsequent negative publicity are problems the country has been facing for years.
It does cause concern to me, but we've been dealing with this for many years now. We have allowed a situation to simply continue to grow. We have to address it because you want people to come to your country and enjoy the hospitality of our people, and then to be a part of the product of the Bahamas, whatever that is that we offer. What you don't want is what none of us want when we're on holiday. We don't want anyone to harass us. We don't want to feel threatened. We don't want to be in situations where we are just simply afraid.
Attorney Jim Walker this week published an article on the website cruiselawnews.com entitled Top 10 Most Dangerous Cruise Destinations in the World. Walker's list, which has been spreading rapidly among Bahamians on social media, ranked the Bahamas in first place, above other countries such as Mexico and St. Kitts. The article says, quote, "We receive more complaints about crime in Nassau than all of the other ports in the Caribbean combined. Armed robberies, sexual assault of teenagers and young women, and the murder of tourists make this port a dangerous place to take your family. The second you step off the cruise ship, you're likely to be offered drugs." The article also noted the United States has issued multiple crime warnings for the Bahamas. It also criticized the country's, quote, archaic legal system, which Walker says is indifferent to the plight of U.S. crime victims. Walker also says the country is inept at solving crimes in port or on Bahamian-flagged cruise ships. Wilchcombe had met with several cruise lines last year over their crime concerns, and he said he continues to meet and work with them. He says cruise lines want assurance the country is providing safety for passengers.
So obviously they are concerned. You would understand that about any liability that they be subjected to if something happens. The cruise lines have worked with us. They continue to work with us, be it the Royal Caribbean or Carnival. Norwegian Cruise Lines, all of them work with us. They understand circumstances, and they work with us to ensure that we can get to the next step in terms of improving our security measures.
Wilchcombe noted this is not the first time the Bahamas has been named on a most dangerous list as a vacation destination. And when asked if this could prove damaging to the country's #1 industry, here's what he had to say.
If it continues unabated, if it continues without the evidence that we are working hard to correct it, then certainly it will.
He explained every Bahamian has a responsibility in keeping the country's reputation intact and protecting the nation's livelihood.
All have a responsibility. We have to manage ourselves, and lots of things that we're seeing is just a lack of common sense and a lack of management. What we have to do is just apply some self-integrity to the process, appreciate that we too travel from time to time. The things we don't like, why do we want to impose it on others?
Wilchcombe explained the country needs to understand it is the criminal behavior of some Bahamians who are ultimately bringing such criticisms to our shores.
Whether we are number 4 or 5 or 6, I want to get off the list. To get off the list, Bahamians must understand where we are. Bahamians must understand the criticism being levied at us, the criticism that's at our doorsteps, the criticism that we are bringing on ourselves. We are not, they're not imposing that. We're bringing it upon ourselves, our behavior. So if Bahamians begin to understand, you know something, we have a responsibility, let's govern ourselves accordingly. And Bahamians always rise to the occasion. So
when our news team spoke to Walker about his list, he said criticisms are already coming in from the Bahamas. Back in January, Walker had warned the Bahamas was just one gunshot away from seeing cruise lines drop Nassau from their itineraries. For his part, when asked about the Bahamas' ranking on the list, National Security Minister Bernard Nottage said, as far as he knows, the country provides effective care for tourists. Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
Well, the State Minister for National Security also weighing in on the ranking. Keith Bell telling our news team there is obvious cause for concern. However, given the sheer number of visitors that come to the Bahamas each year, the number of tourists affected by crime is very minimal.
While that is their way of tabulating their survey and the like and their reports, the reality is that we welcome in excess of 5 million, between 5 and 6 million tourists to this country every year. And of that number, a very, 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 very small, probably less than 1% of tourists are affected by the crime situation that we are facing in this country.
Bell says given the examples of crimes against the tourists used on the list, it is unfair to paint the Bahamas with the same brush as some other Caribbean countries.
For us, I don't think that it is appropriate nor is it fair to use that sort of a paintbrush to paint the Bahamas as a destination which is overridden with crime against tourists. That's not the case.
This as he used the opportunity to point out that the majority of crimes are concentrated on New Providence and not the Family Islands.
Bahamians are very peaceful people. The country is a very safe destination. And when people talk about crime and criminality, one must also remember that New Providence alone, where the crime is concentrated, is only one of at least 34 major inhabited islands and 3,000 rocks and keys, where crime pretty much doesn't exist.
And police were in the area of a daylight shooting moments before fatal shots were fired. Now police are on the hunt for the suspect or suspects behind the shooting that left a young man dead on Dunmore Street this afternoon. Dozens of bystanders looked on as police secured the body, which was discovered on the ground in front of a home. Head of the Central Detective Unit, Superintendent Paul Roll, says around 12:20 police learned gunshots had been fired in the area. That's when police discovered the victim suffering from multiple gunshot wounds to the upper body.
Our preliminary investigation suggests that this male was standing along with a couple of other young men when they were accosted by a lone male who produced a handgun and discharged several shots in his direction, fatally wounding him.
Police have not yet released the victim's identity. However, our news team understands he is a 19-year-old Pinewood man who goes by the name Scar. Police are now appealing to members of the public for any information related to this murder. Officer in charge of the Southern Division, Assistant Superintendent Philip Hinsey, says police were patrolling the area not long before shots were fired.
Daily basis you can find officers in and out to streets, on foot, on mobile patrols. As a matter of fact, just prior to this incident today, the officers had just made a passway through here.
While Roll says there have not been many problems in the Dunmore Street area between Market Street and Blue Hill Road, Hinsey admits there has been a recent spike in gun and drug-related concerns in the area.
We go back to early to mid-April. There's been an increase of shooting-related matters. We had one death. And then again this morning, we are now on record to have a second one. We have intelligence suggests that the area, if you rate it from 1 to 10, reach a scale about 8 in terms of drugs and firearm-related matters.
Hinsey notes that members of the public have assisted police in the past in solving crimes. He hopes the same cooperation will continue as police seek to determine the circumstances surrounding this latest murder. Police are also following significant leads in an overnight murder that left a 29-year-old Pinewood man dead. Police have 4 suspects in custody, including their prime suspect after the late-night shooting. Reports are a female friend of the victim visited his Jacaranda Street home to pick him up when a silver Nissan Altima pulled up and opened fire on him as he walked to the car. Police say the victim was shot in the back and the chest. He was taken to hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. 2 Bahamians are in police custody after Drug Enforcement Unit officers seized a large quantity of suspected marijuana in waters off Long Island today. Officer in charge of DEU, Sam Butler, tells our news team that the contraband and suspects are expected to be transported to the capital this evening. Reports are that officers began working on that scene at 2:30 this morning, wrapping up shortly after 4 this afternoon.